Hey everybody, Brian with Bantam Overland. We've got another great plug and play bundle for you. We've partnered up with Alpine to bring you the iLX-507 plug and play bundle that'll fit perfectly in your 2007 to 2018 Jeep JK. This head unit from Alpine is packed with tons of tech and lots of cool features. Not only is it Maestro compatible, which means it's going to integrate perfectly with your vehicle, retain all of your steering wheel controls, and add certain features like vehicle data and gauges. It's also Sirius XM ready and also has other awesome features like the Tidal app, which gives you the ability to stream high-res music. Alpine's taken it one step further and they offer all sorts of great add-on products. So here you can see we have our Bantam Overland backup camera mount with a Alpine rear camera. This Alpine rear camera plugs directly into the harness for an easy plug and play addition. Before we can start disassembling our Jeep, let's go over a few tools that you'll need to complete the job. Here we have a microfiber towel, a wire fish, recommend some sort of ratchet, either a power or manual, whatever you have. We recommend having an extension for your 9/32 socket wrench, a pair of cutters, a handful of zip ties. We have a couple different panel removal or pry tools here. We have plastic and a metal one. If you have one of these extendable magnets, that's always a great thing to have handy just in case you drop any screws. We're gonna need a razor or some sort of knife cutting device to trim the dash. And then we always recommend to have a roll of tape so you can secure all of your connections. So without any further ado, let's get into it. First step in the installation of your new plug and play bundle is obviously disassembly of your JK. So what I'm going to show you today is going to be applicable for 2012 all the way up to 2018 and a half JKs. Right here below the steering column, there's this lower panel, this dash panel. We need to remove it because we're going to end up removing 4 screws in total that hold on the upper part of the dash. So to do that real easy, we're going to go right below the dash. Here, stick our thumbs in and just pull straight back towards you. It's going to release the 2 clips here at the top. We're going to pivot it all the way down and then pull straight back. So what we're trying to do is release these hooks here. So don't pull straight back on these, otherwise you risk breaking them off. So like I said, it's kind of a pop it out, pivot it all the way down, and then remove. So we'll go ahead and put this in the back seat. Now, right at the top where we just removed, you're going to find 2 9/32 screws that hold in the lower portion of the upper dash. So we're going to go ahead and grab our tool. This is where the little extension comes in handy. We're going to remove these 2 screws. Now that we have the 2 screws removed from the lower part of the dash, we're going to set these in our cup holder for safekeeping, and we're going to move right up on top of the dash here to the storage cubby. We're going to remove our little insert, set that in the back seat, and right below that is going to be another screw to take out. Got that one out, put it in the cup holder as well. 4th and final screw is behind your window switches. So we're going to get our plastic panel tool. We're going to start here right at the bottom. We're just going to insert and we're going to pop this straight out towards us. There's not a lot of slack on the switch cable here, but what you're looking for is on one side there is a red locking tab. You're going to push that back and then you're going to depress the tab and remove the main harness. So we're going to push that, unlock it, and right next to that is the retaining pin. We're going to push that, give it a wiggle, and it's going to come right out. So with the windows switch out of the way, try to hold this so you guys can see. Here's the red locking tab, and right above it is the tab that holds in the main plug. The 4th and final screw is located right here below where the window switch was, so we'll go ahead and remove that one. At this point, the upper dash portion is free. There's nothing holding it in, so we're going to go ahead and remove it. But first, do yourself a favor and drop the steering wheel all the way to its lowest position and lock it back in place. This is going to give us room to lift the dash away, up and over the steering column and your controls here. So it's just gonna make life a lot easier for you. So kind of the easiest way I found to do this is just reach in where the window switch was, and we're just gonna give it a gentle pull towards us. You can grab it on either end. And like I said, we're just going to gently kind of work it up and out of the way. And we can set this piece in the back seat. With the dash out of the way, you'll see now there are 4 screws holding in your factory radio. There's one on each corner. So we're gonna go ahead and use our same 9/32 socket, get those 4 removed, and then the radio will be able to come out. Now that we have our 4 screws in, we're gonna grab the radio on either side, and we're just gonna start to wiggle it a little bit towards us. And you're gonna see that it's gonna come out. There's a retaining clip here on the top that Jeep put in, so if you feel resistance, it's just that pin. So just like you saw me do, just kind of wiggle it, even pressure, and you're gonna see that there are a couple connectors on the back of your factory radio. We're gonna go ahead and remove all of them. There's a tab on the bottom of the main connector there. You're just gonna depress the tab and remove it. Same with the square gray plug here, tab on the bottom. And then you have your 2 antenna connections. So same sort of thing here. You got a tab, you're gonna push the tab in and release the 2 antenna connections. There we go. Factory radio is now out. All right, the next step in the disassembly process for fitting our Alpine 507 in is we need to actually trim back this little piece of the support here behind the dash. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna trim straight back from the edge here, go back, cut along this crease, and then trim out just this lower portion. The goal here is to leave the vertical upright part of the dash support in place. So to do that, we're gonna grab our knife and we'll go ahead and push the rest of these wires out of the way. Trimming up. Just give it a little wiggle with the knife here, it'll start cutting right through. All right, once we get there, we're gonna continue all the way back until we hit the vertical portion here. We'll do the same on the other side. All right, now that we have cut up both sides, we're gonna cut right here in this corner. So we'll just start by scoring, and we'll just keep kind of going layer by layer. Don't want to push too hard. We don't want to slip and accidentally cut the rest of our dash. After a few cuts there, the knife just starts really going through. So that side's loosened up. Go ahead and finish our cut. All right, there we go. Show you one more time. That's what it looked like before. And all we're doing is removing this and leaving the vertical portion of the dash support. Next piece we're going to remove is the lower HVAC panel here. To do that, it's real simple. We're just going to grab the 2 tabs here and gently pull back straight towards us. This is just held in with pressure clips. So you can see clips right there. And there's a couple connectors here on the back. We're going to depress the tabs and remove those. All right, got those removed. We'll set that in the back seat. Next up to come out is the U-Connect module. There's 2 screws on here. There's one on the top left and one on the bottom right. So we'll grab our socket here and we'll go ahead and take these 2 out. There's one here on the bottom. Just be careful that you don't drop it. So what I typically do is I'll loosen it, hold it in with the socket, and then grab the U-Connect module and just kind of pull it all out as one assembly. Just holding the back of the screw with my fingers. All right, there we go. There's 2 connectors here on the bottom. We're just going to push the tabs in and release them. All right, there we go. go, so we got that out. 2 connectors on the Uconnect module. Here's the one that we're going to use for our USB, and then this was the other connector. So like I said, we're going to hook our USB adapter into the one that was plugged in here in a minute. The next pieces that we're going to need for the install of our 507 bundle are the navigation antenna, the OBD2 harness, and our Alpine provided microphone. So we'll start with the navigation antenna. You got a little connector here that's going to plug directly to the main harness, and then the little black square antenna puck. You can see it's already got a piece of double-sided tape on it, so we're going to use that to mount the antenna right up here on top of the dash. Some of the Jeeps have a little sensor here. There's enough room to go right in front of the sensor and mount your antenna. So to do that, we'll remove the twist tie, get our cable all stretched out, and what we're going to do is we're going to start with the square plug end. And right here, right in front of where we're going to mount it, if you put your fingers down in front of the dash, between the dash and the windshield, you'll feel a piece of rubber. You can actually just push that out of the way, and we'll take the square end and just push it right under and through. And then what we're going to do is reach in and pull the connector right out the bottom of the dash there. And then we're going to go down behind this metal support so that we keep everything in the opening for the factory radio. And we'll go ahead and pull all of the slack through. Before we mount our antenna, we're going to grab a towel and just make sure that we have the dash nice and cleaned off. We will peel off the backing on the adhesive. Pull the slack through, and we'll put this almost all the way down to the windshield. Just give it a good firm press. All right, navigation antenna is mounted. So let's clean up some of the excess wire here. So we're going to loop it all up, and then we're going to leave ourselves a little bit of a tail there so that we have enough to connect to the harness, and we'll secure the rest of the wire with the twist tie that was on it. All right, so for right now, we can just leave this dangling. We're going to move on to the Alpine microphone. So again, we'll undo the twist tie. Now, just like the other piece, there is a piece of double-sided tape already stuck to the bottom of this pedestal mount. Where we're going to mount this is actually going to be right here on top of the steering column. So what we're going to want to do is we're not going to stick it to the top of the steering column yet. We'll do that after we install the rest of the dash. But what we will do is we're going to start with the headphone jack end of the cable. Right here to the right of the steering column, you can see where there's an opening in the dash, and then right here to the left of this left vent, you can just snake the headphone jack right through that opening. So kind of coming below, and get my fingers through there, grab the headphone jack, and pull that end through. Again, make sure you pull all the knots and tangles out. So what I like to do with this is I'm actually just going to drape it right over the steering wheel. That way when we go to reinstall the dash, it's not going to get in the way. And then we'll go ahead and, just like the nav antenna, we'll go ahead and clean up some of this extra wire. Again, leaving ourselves a little tail there. And we'll clean this up with the twist tie. Again, we'll just let this dangle right there for right now. Next up is the OBD2 connector. So you'll see you have two ends here. You have the one larger black plug. That is going to plug into your OBD2 port down here to the left of your steering wheel. And then you have a black 2-pin connector with the red and yellow wires going into it. We're going to run that up to behind the radio, and this smaller end is also going to plug into the main harness. So we're going to drop down in the driver footwell. I'll show you how to connect this, and then we'll start running the wire along the bottom of the dash, and then we'll come up and come out right here. So we're going to make the connection here to the OBD2 port. Snap that into place, and then the smaller connector here with the little OBD2 tag on it. We're going to run this towards the center of the dash and then up to behind the radio. So kind of the trick here is find something, like there's a little wire that comes out of the back of OBD2. We're going to loop it through there just to kind of keep it tucked up out of the way. Again, get all your tangles out, pull all the slack through. All right, at this point, we can just kind of find anything and everything up there we're gonna run across towards the center. We need to grab some zip ties. We can do that as well. We wanna keep this wire up and out of the way, as obviously all the pedals are here and that wouldn't be safe to get your foot snagged on it. So there's actually another wire here. So we're gonna use that as kind of an anchoring point. We'll run that over. And then, like I said, we'll grab some zip ties and any of this slack here, we'll pull it tight, we'll anchor it to this, and then we'll feed it up the dash. So we're gonna wrap that main harness and our OBD2. Go ahead and pull the slack out of it and make sure our zip tie is nice and tight. And that should do it as far as holding the cable up out of the way of our feet. Yep, that's good. Okay, with our OBD2 cable ran to the bottom of the dash, now all we need to do is get it up to the top behind the radio. So this is definitely, if you have a wire fish, this is where it's going to come in handy. If you have a metal coat hanger, a rod, anything that'll work. So what we're going to do is we're going to go right kind of below the vent here, and we're going to shoot the wire fish straight down towards the floorboard. We'll hook the wire and then we'll pull it back up. So let's go ahead and just follow the inside of the dash straight down. All right, I got the wire fish, came out the bottom. Go ahead and hook the wire. And there we are. I said a second ago, having a wire fish definitely makes this part super easy. All right, with our OBD2 cable ran up, we're gonna do a little bit of housekeeping here in the dash. We're going to make sure that all of our wires are run behind the metal support here over the vents. So we want to keep all of our wires up out of the way of the ductwork. So just make sure that all of our wires that we ran are coming right out through the middle of this support piece here. All right, so one thing that we can go ahead and actually tuck out of the way is there's this one square gray connector that's not going to be reused. It's the one with the factory looking tag on it. So we'll just go ahead and tuck it back in the dash and get it out of the way. One other accessory to talk about real quick is the Sirius XM tuner. If you selected to add or maintain Sirius XM at checkout, we're going to send you a brand new Sirius tuner, and we're also going to send you the Sirius XM antenna adapter. So if your Jeep came factory with Sirius XM, you are going to have a antenna connector here in the dash. It's actually going to be this off yellow mustard colored one. If your Jeep did not come with factory Sirius XM, in your extra parts bag there will be an additional antenna for the tuner. It's going to look very similar to the navigation antenna puck here, so you're going to end up running that in the same fashion that we did the navigation, and then that will just plug directly into the top of the tuner here. The other side of the tuner will already be connected to the back of the radio and secured for you. So in this install, we're not going to do the Sirius tuner, so let's get started with the rest of the radio parts. Making all of our connections between our Alpine head unit and all of the wires that we ran and the main vehicle connector. So the first one that we're going to need is all the way to the right of the radio. It is our USB adapter. So it's this square gray plug. And what we're going to want to do is you can just kind of leave the radio on the seat. We're going to go straight down the middle of the dash and down towards where the Uconnect module was. So kind of the best way I found is right here next to the Windows switch harness. You can just go right down next to it, and that connector is going to come right out the bottom. And if you look, you'll see the connector in there. We'll just match up the shapes and push it together until you hear a click. You can see it's nicely connected. So at this point, what we're going to do is we'll push everything to the side. We're going to grab our Uconnect module, connect the other main connector, and go ahead and put the Uconnect module back in the dash. Like I said earlier, this one here, that's the one we just plugged in. So find the other connector and plug it back in. And we're going to tuck our USB connector behind the Uconnect module. And then we can grab a couple of the screws and we'll go ahead and re-secure it. All right, now our USB is connected. We can start with the rest of our wires. So we'll start kind of left to right on the rest of these. The first one here is the AM/FM antenna adapter. So like I said, you have 2 antenna connections if you had factory Sirius XM radio. The orangish yellow one is going to be your Sirius XM, and the one that is white and red is going to be your AM/FM. So we're just going to line up the connector, and that'll snap right in. Moving over, you have a collection here with all the labels on it. You see one that says drive recorder in. You have front camera, rear camera. So if you chose to add the backup camera, we're going to plug our Alpine camera wire into rear camera. And again, these they'll only go together one way. You can just snap it together. All right, moving on to our main vehicle connectors, the big square gray plug. You also have the red and yellow wires here with the black 2-pin, so that is going to be for OBD2. So we'll go ahead and line that up, snap it together. Larger plug here is the main vehicle harness connector, so we'll find that one and hook those together. And then we get a lot of questions about what the amp turn on, this little blue wire is here. This is your signal wire that would go to hook up to any of your aftermarket amplifiers. So that's what that's for, and that's where it's located. All right, next up is our navigation antenna. See the plug here actually just plugs right into the back of the radio. So top left, you'll see where it plugs in. You heard that nice good snap there. The connector here, this is for your Sirius XM. So like I said earlier, if you selected that at checkout, the module will already be connected there for you. And we need our microphone. All right, so right here on the bottom, you can see this black connector. It's labeled mic in. So that's where our microphone's going to get hooked up. And that snaps right into place. All right, so that's the main vehicle connectors we're going to use. There's some more on here that you may or may not use. You have RCAs here for if you're running amplifiers. You have that. We've gone ahead and included some pigtails here. So the red and the black one is for a accessory power for another option. And then you have a red, yellow, and black. Those are going to be your power ground and accessory wires if you selected to add the DVR Alpine dash camera. And you also have where it says drive recorder in RCA for that as well, but we'll cover that in more detail. The other great thing about the Alpine head units is behind this little cover plate, you actually have a full-size HDMI input-output. So if you wanted to connect something, another device or a screen, you can obviously do that. You'll just have to go get the appropriate cables or adapters for that. So we'll do one final check, make sure everything's plugged in. Got navigation, OBD2, got our microphone, our backup camera. All right. So at this point, we are going to gently find everything a home in the dash, and we're going to start pushing our dash kit into place. It's a lot of stuff, but it will fit. All right, with the radio in place, we're going to go ahead and grab a couple of the screws and we will secure it temporarily into the dash. I'm just going to put these in kind of loose just to hold it. Now that we have the head unit installed into the dash, this is the perfect time to do a quick function check to make sure that everything that you have installed is working properly before we close up the rest of the dash. All right, everybody, now the time we've been waiting for, let's grab the key. We'll go ahead and put the vehicle into ignition power, give it a first boot. So there you go, Alpine logo pops right up. Stereo is already picked up. All right, perfect. So here we can see the unit powered up. Any of the devices that you have connected, you'll see right here on the home screen. So there's a couple things that we're going to want to do. We'll go to radio first, find a local radio station, and we'll go ahead and test our steering wheel buttons. All right, so volume's working. Push volume down, it mutes, that's working. Our seek is working. All right, so all of that seems to be functional. Go ahead and turn this down while we walk through some of the other features. Hit the home button here. So one thing that we get a lot of questions on, and that's how to get into the setup menu. So down here at the bottom right of the screen, you can see the setup icon, but it's grayed out. You're actually going to need to set your emergency brake, and what the Alpine unit wants to see is an on, off, on sequence. So we're going to set the brake. We're going to release it. We're going to set the brake again. You can see that the setup icon flashes a few times and then now is selectable. So we're going to go ahead and connect our phone. There's a couple other things we can do in the settings menu so we can test the full functionality. So let's go ahead and connect our phone. What you're going to do is you're going to make sure that your Wi-Fi and your Bluetooth is enabled on your device. All right, so we're going to go into the Bluetooth menu on our phone. We're going to go to device list on the unit, say add new device. And what we're looking to show up is that Alpine DA, so there it is. We're going to select it on our phone. Get a pairing confirmation here. We're going to say pair on the phone. We're going to say yes. Our phone's going to ask us if we want to allow contacts. We do. That way when people call or text, their actual information is going to show up. And then it says this device supports Apple CarPlay. We want to say start. And then lastly on your phone, I'm going to say use Apple CarPlay. If you have Android, the setup's going to be pretty similar with the prompts here on the screen. So there we are. Apple CarPlay has launched, so now this is the home screen of Apple CarPlay. Basically anything that is Apple CarPlay or Android Auto compatible is going to show up here. You can reorganize these as you want. You can change the background if you'd like. So kind of everything that we're used to in newer vehicles, you now have in your 2007 to 2018 JK. So you got all your maps, you have all of your music streaming devices and different apps. You can run Sirius XM directly through the app as well if you already have that. So a lot of great features. One of my favorite things is, say you're in Sirius XM and you want to pull up your map. Down here on the button bar all the way to the right is a little nav thing. If you just push that button, it automatically takes you back to your map that you were using. So that's kind of a cool feature. If we press the home button here, it's going to take us all the way back out to the main home screen of the Alpine. Push it one more time, and with the parking brake set and setup enabled, you can see you have all of your different EQ settings here. So you have fade and balance, you can set crossovers, media expander. That's definitely a cool feature. So basically what the media expander does is your media files are compressed, and when you turn on the different levels of media expander, it really opens up the sound file and is an instant improvement in your sound quality. You have bass engine, you can go into time correction or EQ settings, so all sorts of great sound and EQ settings right at your fingertips. Go back to the home here, swipe over, there we see our Tidal app. So if you want to subscribe for that, that is an awesome high-res music app. So all sorts of great stuff. We got vehicle info. This is what the OBD2 was for. So obviously the Jeep's not running right now, but you can see in here you have intake temp, your fuel percentage, you have RPMs, miles per hour, all sorts of stuff. You can go to vehicle info, shows us our door alerts, shows us our tire pressures and our battery voltage. So a lot of great diagnostic stuff, again, right here at your fingertips. So everything seems to be working correctly. So now all we have left to do is finish up the reinstallation of all of the dash. All right, so we need to finish tightening up our dash kit. So what I like to do is actually pull the sides of the dash kit as tight as I can get them to the face of the radio while I'm tightening these. And then we're just gonna snug them down. These are plastic dash kits, so we definitely don't want to over tighten or over torque. All right, with that back in place, we will grab the lower HVAC control panel here and get that reinstalled. So grabbing our control panel here, just gonna line up and match up all of our plugs again. All right, got our 4 connectors. We're gonna line up the pins here. And this panel is just gonna push right back in. All right, perfect. All right, next up is the main portion of the dash. So again, that's why I said leave the microphone kind of hanging out here so that it stays outside of the dash. And we will work this piece up and back over. Want to make sure our window switch harness is accessible. Push this back into place. All right. So got our window switch, got our microphone. So we'll go ahead and grab the screw here below the window switch and put it back into place. Let's grab our actual switch itself. Remember, from disassembly, we're going to connect it to the main harness. That snap into place, and then don't forget the red locking pin. All right, we're going to orient that the right way, and that's just going to push right back in place. Next up, we're going up top into the storage cubby, so we'll grab another screw and replace that one as well. That in place, we can put our little mat back in. Next up are the 2 screws on either side of the steering column. Go ahead and secure those. All right, almost there. One more panel. We got our lower cover here. Again, we're going to start with the hinges in on the bottom, get those lined up, pivot this up and snap it into place. And the last thing we have to do is mount our microphone. So we'll grab our towel, make sure that the top of the steering column is good and cleaned off. We're going to remove the backing on the double-sided tape. Tuck the wire back a little bit. We're going to just line this up right in the center. Yeah, we'll just stick the microphone right there on top. Give it a firm push. Make sure our wire's tucked out of the way. And then we're going to reset our steering wheel to our preferred location. All right, well, that's it. We got everything back in place. This definitely looks super awesome. It's nice, clean, installed look. A lot of tech upgrade now right here at our fingertips. Definitely a great improvement over the factory radio that was in here just a short time ago. So like I said earlier, there's a lot of awesome Alpine accessories that you can pair with either this 507 or any of the other Alpine radios. In another video, we're going to show you more in depth on the Alpine backup camera with our Bantam Overland backup camera mount. So be sure to check that out. Definitely if you've selected to add the backup camera to your 507 install. All right, everybody, thanks for hanging out with us today while we went through the install of this Alpine 507 plug-and-play bundle for your 2007 to 2018 Jeep JK. If you want to pick one of these up or any of the other great Alpine accessories, head over and visit us at the shop at www.bantamoverland.com. Like always, have a blast out there.